All right. Good morning, or good afternoon, depending on what part of the world you're joining us from. Coach Kevin Sparks here, and we're going to go ahead and get started. Success training. And the way you can come find us is when you log into your Facebook account, just look for the search function, start typing in live law of attraction, money, wealth, and success training, and you can find us that way. And that way you can come and join the group. The other way that you can find us is go directly to facebook.com, /groups, that's plural, /money manifesting coach as one word. Again, that is facebook.com /groups /money manifesting coach.com. Now, why would you want to come join us? Well, we try to do our best to record these Zoom meetings and give you access to the recording typically within 24 to 48 hours after we've had the meeting. So let's say, for instance, you're here with us today and you like what is said and you want to review it. If you look here, you can see that, oh, well, there's yesterday's and the day before and the day before that. So in other words, you will find the recordings here in the Facebook group. That's the way that you can come review them. So if you like something and you want to go through it again, this is where you can find it. Also, for instance, let's say you're with us Monday, Tuesday, you can't make it Wednesday, you're here with us Thursday, can't make it Friday. This is the place where the recordings will be. And let's say that we're in the process of going through some material that takes multiple days to get through. This is a way that you could stay caught up with what we're doing, okay? The other thing is sometimes we will go through something and it'll only be one day. Sometimes we'll go through something, it might even take a week or two. So it just depends on what it is that we are studying and going through and training on, okay? So it's just a very good idea for you to be a part of the Facebook group. So again, we invite you to come join us. Okay, next thing I want to point out is what we are in the middle of going through right now. And I want to tell you how to get access to your own copy of this for free. We are going through a book called Hidden Treasures. Now, there's different places you can find it. I'll show you the free place right now, but I will tell you that you can find it on Amazon as a paperback book. You can get a Kindle version. You can even get an Audible version. And I think you can even buy CDs, okay? The book's been out for a while. And let me show you, it's called Hidden Treasures is the name of the book. It was written by my friend here, Leslie Householder. And you can find it for free at hiddentreasuresbook.com. So again, you can get your free copy at hiddentreasuresbook.com, which I'm going to use the free copy itself as we go through this. And you can follow along, but that's the reason I'm using the free copy is if you go get that same copy, we'll be on exactly the same page, okay? But Leslie and myself are actually organization and lots of different people that are coaches throughout the world. Leslie and I have a lot in common and we've become good friends. And we found out that we didn't live too far from each other. So we've had the opportunity to interact and get to know each other. And I can tell you she's a phenomenal person. Let me tell you about her book after I get a sip of water here. What I like about this particular book and why we're going through it, and by the way, you scroll down the page, you just go to where it says click here for free download. That's where you get the book, okay? But let me talk about for a moment what this book is about. Most of you have heard of the law of attraction, Okay. Most of you are not familiar, some of you can be, okay, but most of you are not familiar with all the different laws that govern manifesting the money and wealth that you want into your life, or some additional things that you want in your life. Okay. So you need to understand the laws, all of the laws. And law of attraction is not even a primary law. It is a secondary law to the law of vibration. Essentially, there's 7 laws that you need to be fully aware of. There's additional laws of the universe, but there's 7 laws that you need to be fully aware of, how they function and operate, if you're going to successfully manifest the things you want in your life. So if you don't know what they are and how they function, how are you going to obey them? Well, you may get lucky and do it by accident. Not so likely, though. Maybe 2-3% of the entire population of the world actually fall into that category of naturally following those laws. So that leaves 97-98% of the rest of us to have to learn what they are and understand how they function so that we can obey them. Here's the problem. If we don't even know what they are, we could very easily be disobeying them. And by disobeying those laws, not being in harmony with them, we end up with the opposite of what we want in life. Instead of prosperity and abundance, we end up broken poor. Okay. That's not what we want to have happen. And none of us intentionally go about seeking to do that. Okay. We actually want what we want, but we seem to sometimes not get where we want to get to, or we hit a certain level of success in our lives and we get stuck and we don't know why we can't move any further. So you need to understand how these laws work, or here's what could happen to you. If a child goes, and this is a child that can't walk yet. So this child can crawl, the child can't talk yet, but a pretty good crawler, okay? Pretty good crawler has now mastered that function, and the child's scooting across the floor, and they go into the kitchen, and they climb up onto a chair, and then climb up onto the counter, and they go zipping across the counter. If they don't stop before they get to the end of the other side and realize they should stop, they just keep going, what is going to happen to that child? Well, that child is going to fall down. It's called the law of gravity, okay? And depending on how high up the child is, what the material of the floor is made of, is it carpet? Highly unlikely, because it's a kitchen. Is it tile? Possibly. Is it granite? Possibly. Is it wood? Possibly. The child falls off the other side. And how does the child land? Depends on where and how the child lands and what it lands on, how high up it is and how heavy the child is. It's going to determine the kind of hurt the child receives. Now, the child is completely innocent. Nobody taught the child the law of gravity. But is there a consequence for disobeying the law, even if the child didn't understand it? Yes, the consequence is still in effect. So if you don't understand the laws, you could be sabotaging yourself throughout your entire life, wondering why you're not actually getting out of life what you want, because you might be disobeying some law, just like that child disobeyed the law of gravity without knowing any better. So you want to be aware of what they are. So first off, you need to understand those laws and how they work. The next thing you need to do, and that's not what this book is about, but we'll get into that. And I've actually done some training on that already, but we will get into even more depth as we go along, is how your subconscious mind functions. Because again, if you want something out of life and your beliefs that are programmed into your subconscious mind are in opposition to what it is that you want, then your subconscious mind will actually work to sabotage you. So again, you will not get what you want. You will probably get the opposite of what you want. And the subconscious mind is just, it just creates that for you and gets in your way. It becomes your very worst enemy. Now, here's the cool thing. Once we get your subconscious mind reprogrammed and you understand things the way you're supposed to understand things, then you can reprogram your mind to actually become your greatest friend in helping you receive what you want. Matter of fact, it'll help move heaven and earth to make sure you get what you want. So number one, you need to understand the laws. Number two, you need to reprogram yourself. You get those things in alignment with God and the universe working to help you through the law of attraction, through essentially the law of vibration, and you will receive what you want. Okay. So this book, Leslie does a phenomenal job at explaining the 7 laws. I'm going to now, at this point, you maybe went and grabbed a copy of your own. I don't know. Hopefully you've chosen to do that. If not, go get it at some point, partly so you can get caught up with where we're at and or watch the videos by joining our Facebook group. But we are currently on page 79 of this PDF file of 115 pages, and we're on lesson number 6, the law of cause and effect. So Leslie has already obviously gone through 5 previous lessons plus a lot of additional information, and she's going to continue to go through a lot more before we're done. But understand that what you hear today is going to be helpful in and of itself, but there's more than one law to figure out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hop in and start reading this. I'll share commentary when I think it's appropriate. Now, we're going to save 10 to 15 minutes at the end of what we're doing to give you the opportunity to interact with us, okay? We're going to let you go ahead and share whatever you like to share and ask whatever questions you like to ask. That's actually part of what we do each day. So if you have something you want to ask, all you have to do is we will give you the appropriate time. We'll come out of screen share. I'll tell you when it's time. So if you got a question, just write it down and we'll be sure and get to it for you, okay? Let me get that sip of water and let's get going. Lesson 6, the law of cause and effect. There is probably more familiar territory to many of us, or this is probably more familiar territory to many of us. In essence, this is the law of the harvest, or the golden rule, or the new law that Christ presented during his earthly ministry. Hopefully, this discussion will help you see it as more than just a good idea. To be genuinely kind to people, it is more than just a good idea. It is a law that you will either follow or break yourself against. Remember that by our rigid definition of law, there's no escaping the consequences. So that's like we're talking about the child with the law of gravity. Can't escape the consequence whether the child knew any better or not. You still have the consequence. That is good news and bad news, though, depending on how you choose to live this law. The law of cause and effect states that every cause has an effect, and every effect has a cause. Nothing happens by chance. Everything that happens in the universe happens as a result of a law. There is order in everything. Nothing is unpredictable to God. Understand, however, that although he knows all things, his knowledge does not take away our free agency. This is another law that he abides perfectly, to give us our freedom to make choices. But he can know with certainty what will happen to as we make those choices. This is because of the law of cause and effect. When I was a senior in high school, my AP English teacher put me on the spot about some of my religious beliefs. I was the only member of my church in the room and very possibly the only Christian there too, since I was in a primarily Jewish community. As nervous as I was, I tried not to let my fears of being different overcome me. One of the topics on which he challenged was, does God know how we're going to turn out? Yes, because he's all-knowing, I replied. Then it's pretty much already decided where we'll end up. So we're predestined, he concluded. No, he knows where we'll end up, but it's still within our control. How can it be within our control if he already knows the outcome? He knows us well enough to know the kinds of choices we will make, like parents who can predict the behavior of their child based on the child's nature. My teacher never seemed quite satisfied, and I was a little disappointed in what seemed to be a weak explanation. I chose not to take the confrontation personally, since I'm sure he was simply trying to challenge my critical thinking skills. But I've thought about that conversation many times since, and after learning about this law of cause and effect, I can see more clearly how God can know our future. In fact, our future should be just as predictable to ourselves based upon our thoughts, the choices we make, and the vibration we maintain. Can we change the outcome? Yes, if we consciously make choices that change our vibration and decisions that are different than the ones we usually make. Making a course correction requires conscious effort, just as your automobile will change direction or won't change direction unless you turn the steering wheel. Does God know if we will make the necessary changes or not? He may be all-knowing, but I believe this test in life is less about proving to God that we are fit for his kingdom and more about proving to ourselves that we're willing to respect and obey the laws that govern it. We must go through this test so that in the end, we will know his final judgments are just. Newton's third law. We've discussed much about the principles contained in this book in terms of basic chemistry, physics, and even geology. Like I said, I believe God uses the world around us to teach us lessons. The law of cause and effect is no different. For this lesson, I want to bring up Newton's third law, as stated in the chapter titled Newton's Laws of Motion from the Addison Wesley's 1988 edition of University Physics by Sears, Zemansky, and Young. Whew, mouthful. To every action, there is always opposed and equal reaction. The mutual actions of two bodies upon each other are always equal and directed to contrary parts. In my words, every action has a reaction that is equal and opposite, meaning an action away from you brings a reaction toward you, which is similar in nature. When you take a step toward the thing you desire takes a step toward you. James 4:8 shows us one wonderful way we may apply this law in our lives. Draw nigh unto God, and he will draw nigh unto you. Thinking about this law helps me believe that I only have to go half as far as I thought I might, because the thing I desire meets me in the middle. Do you want something good? Move in a good direction, and good things will begin to move toward you. If you plant a carrot seed, a carrot will come to you. If you plant a weed, you will get a weed. Galatians 6:7 states, whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. Newton talks about two bodies. For the purpose of this lesson, let's think about the two bodies as being you and the formless substance. Why? Because if you think about this law in terms of you and another person, then the law seems to be inconsistent at times. Have you noticed if you see someone or serve someone, he or she may not serve you back. But if you serve someone, then you're putting good out into the universe, and by law, good will be returned to you from the universe. That is why you don't need to be concerned with the immediate reaction you get from someone you serve. A powerful illustration of the law of cause and effect. The following story has been told and retold in a variety of ways. I don't know where the idea originated, but it perfectly serves as an illustration of this law. So I'd like to summarize it again here. A man who had just lost his job was driving down an old two-lane country road in his beat-up car when he saw a nice new Cadillac pulled over to the shoulder. He stopped to see what was wrong, and an old woman explained that she had a flat tire and didn't know what to do. The man introduced himself as Joe and graciously changed the tire. When he was done, the old woman tried to pay for his services. Smiling, the man refused, explaining that someone had helped him out once before, and that if she wants to pay him back, she should simply pass on the goodwill to someone else. The old woman was grateful and deeply touched by this unselfish gesture of kindness. Thanking him, she drove away. She thought about what he had done, and with a tender feeling in her heart, she pulled into a coffee shop to enjoy some hot chocolate. The waitress who served her was clearly 9 months pregnant, and her smile could not hide the weariness she felt. Still, never a complaint escaped her lips. Thinking again of Joe, it didn't take long for the old woman to decide how she would pass along the kindness as promised. When it came time to pay the bill, the old woman handed the waitress a $100 bill. With a smile, the waitress said, "I'll be back with your change." While the young woman was gone, the old woman slipped away. Bringing the change back to the table, the young expectant mother looked for the old woman, but only found a note which said, "Keep the change. It's a gift for your baby." Tears filled her eyes as she looked out the window, just in time to see the elderly lady drive away. Later that night, the expectant mother returned to her home, where her husband was waiting. She approached him from behind the couch and tenderly put her arms around his shoulders. She showed him the woman's gift and said, "Everything is going to be all right. I love you, Joe." Our actions are like perfectly obedient boomerangs. Whatever we send out will return to us by law. Remember, you don't have to know where your needed blessings will come from. Just know that they will. Joe could have accepted the money and saved some time in the transaction process. She was a generous woman. Perhaps the $100 would have been his right from the start. But there's a message in this principle. If we immediately see the results of our kindness, then it is easy to take the credit. If we are kind and generous without expectation of reward, then it's the Lord's delight to involve as many people in the blessing as possible. And who could help but give him the glory when the blessing comes back from someplace unexpected? In this story, it only required 2 transactions for the blessing to come back to Joe. In our life, it might take 2, and then it might take 20, but it will come. Let this 6th law be a reminder to love one another, as the New Testament tells us that Christ has loved us. Know that by this law, you cannot do something good and miss the reward. By the same token, you cannot be stingy, rude, or cheat someone without an equal reaction that will come back to bite you. You cannot be selfish or concerned with worldly acclaim without these unworthy motives securing your decline. Your thoughts have power to produce the things you need, but also maintain true and right principles in your efforts to obtain them. That thine alms may be in secret, and thy Father which seeth in secret himself shall reward thee openly. Seek abundance for the purpose of doing good, for helping others, for providing the necessities for your family, for paying all your obligations in a timely and honest way. Do not seek abundance for impressing people or for proving anything to your neighbors. We have to watch that the things we do with our money are good things. The law must remind us that we will be caught if our actions are unworthy. Do not do good deeds in hopes that people will know you did and be impressed with you. Matthew 6:19-20 teaches us, lay not up for yourselves treasures upon earth, where moth and rust doth corrupt, and where thieves break through and steal. But lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust doth corrupt, and where thieves do not break through nor steal. Of course, it is good to seek riches, if the riches are used to help us keep his commandments more completely. How abundantly has the Lord blessed you already? Are you striving to multiply what he has given you, as was taught in the parable of the talents? Or are you only in maintenance mode? Hopefully you aren't just hanging on to your talents, an ancient form of money, with a fear of losing them. Man, this is so important. Okay. Hopefully you are not hanging on to your talents, an ancient form of money, with a fear of losing them, losing your money. As taught in Matthew, he who hides his talent, so he who doesn't share their talent, but also he or she who hides their money will eventually lose it altogether. So we should seek an increase. Besides, we cannot offer financial relief to the needy if our own purse is empty. To do good things with money is to lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven. Pay 10% of your income to tithing. Put the Lord first, and there will be a way for your own needs to be met. Malachi 3:10 teaches, bring ye all the tithes into the storehouse, that there may be meat in mine house. And prove me now herewith, saith the Lord of hosts, if I will not open you the windows of heaven and pour you out a blessing, that there shall not be room enough to receive it. Forget about luck. Think of luck as living under correct knowledge. Live by law, and you are lucky. People will start to say to you, everything just seems to come her way, or he is always so lucky. Luck is living under correct knowledge. Our final lesson in this book will address the timing concern. Keep reading if you want to know, when will I see the fruits of my thoughts and my labor? And how long do I need to believe? Okay. So we are going to hit pause, so to speak. We'll come back to this tomorrow. And now we will have some time to talk and share with each other. So let me, for those of you who are brand new, I don't know if we have brand new people here today or not. Hopefully some new people have joined us and have stuck with us. Okay, but let me explain what we're going to do right now. This is your opportunity to share what you would like to share and or ask whatever questions you would like to ask. So what would be appropriate to share? Well, first of all, anything in relationship to what we just went over would be awesome. Meaning maybe you got an aha moment, maybe you learned something new, maybe you were given a reminder of something you knew but you haven't been doing lately. You're like, oh, that's right, I need to do this. Anyhow, anything in relationship to what we just went over. Also, anything in relationship, if you've been with us for a while, we've been together for about a month now, in relationship to what we've gone over in the past. The other things that are awesome to share are your personal experiences. Maybe something's happened over the past month. We talked, we shared, I maybe answered some of your questions. You went out and did something, and now you have a result that you could share with us, or anything from the past. Anything where in relationship to you made a decision that you wanted something to manifest in your life, and through the law of attraction, we'll just call it that. I know it's vibration and other laws, but through the law of attraction, it manifested successfully in your life. Those are great stories to share because they increase people's faith and belief. Okay, what questions would be appropriate? Well, anything in relationship to what we went over today, anything in relationship to what we've gone over in the past, and or anything in relationship to manifesting more money and wealth in your life is fair game. So all you need to do is come off of mute and start sharing what you want to share or asking whatever question you would like to ask. And we will take you in the order that you do that. So now's your time to go ahead and do that.
Hi, Kevin. I really liked in today's reading. It was a nice reminder that, when we do good things for other people, to not expect it being acknowledged by them, and just rather see it as this is another way for me to raise my vibration as well as help those people. And I noticed that when in my brain, when I'm expecting someone to acknowledge it, I don't get that acknowledgement usually. And then when I'm not expecting it, I do get the acknowledgement. So I always find that kind of funny. And I also in today's reading, it was talking about how to not hide your talents and to share those talents that you have with other people.
Awesome. Yeah, absolutely our talents for sure, right? Also, though, what we want to do is if we have a certain amount of money in the bank, for instance, or we own certain assets that have value, or we have access to lines of credit that have been given to us that aren't being used currently to produce anything, right? It's there and we're holding on. Those are the talents too. In other words, the literal talent that Jesus was talking about. He wasn't always talking about the talents you're talking about, but 100%. If you have the ability to sing and you don't do it, you may lose that ability or you won't be as good at it as you could have been, right? Anything that we neglect to use that's been given to us as a gift typically will atrophy and then it'll kind of go away on us. But money that is hoarded, okay, credit that is not being used is not very useful. And assets that we have, if we're trying to do something to better our life, if we're not willing to take something to make our life better so we can do or have more because we're afraid, that's not a good idea. It doesn't matter specifically what any person here believes about God or any specific religion. These are laws and principles that go into effect. But that person that hides their talent, if you read more in the scripture, the reason they said they hid their talent is they said, well, I knew you were a tough taskmaster and you wouldn't be happy if I lost it. So what they did is they went and buried it. But the command, so to speak, the advice given originally was take your talents, use them and multiply them. So here was this person with 10 and they used their 10 and they multiplied them and ended up with another 10. So they ended up with 20 talents. There was another person who had 5, and I could be off on these numbers a little, but this is the gist of it. They had 5. They did the best they could with their 5, multiplied it, and they ended up with 5 more. Then there was this person that only had 1 or 2, and they took them and they buried them, basically hid them, left them alone, so that when the master came back to say, hey, when he went to the first person that had 10 and they had 10 more, of course, he was very excited and happy. And the same thing even with the person who had 5. He didn't like or even care about the one with 10 more than the one with 5. What he cared about is they took what the blessings they'd been given, their talents, their money, whatever it was, and they went and multiplied it. But the one that took it and hid it, he said, I know you're a tough taskmaster, so I hid it, but so here's the 1 or the 2, whatever the number, I think it was 2 or 3. Anyhow, and he was like, that's not what I told you to do with your talents. I gave these to you to multiply them. And you had the ability to do so. You absolutely could have. So he took those away from that person, and interestingly enough, gave it to the one who had 10. Now you might think, well, why didn't he give 1 to, if there were 3, why didn't he give 2 to the one with 10 and 1 to the one with 5? I don't know. It could be because the one with 10 has already proven their ability to multiply even more, as well as the person with 5. But the joy and the happiness that God in the universe has with anybody who multiplies what they have, that's the important part of it. Anybody who hoards their stuff or hides their talent is going to lose their stuff and lose their talent. Anybody that multiplies their talents and takes what they've been given and uses it to better their life, it's going to create increase. So that's the lesson to be learned by all of this. And then also awesome that you pointed out, when you go out there without expectation and you're just doing good for people, it tends to reflect back when you expect something. Now that's different than a business transaction though, okay? When you're in a business transaction, there is an expectation, right? Though I'm trading my service, my product, my whatever for your money. What you want to make sure in that situation is that the person who is spending their money is getting more in use value than they're giving you in cash value. So you want to make sure that you're offering a lot of value for what's going on. And value is seen differently in different situations. A can of Coca-Cola, for instance, if you go to Costco and you buy it in cases, that can of Coca-Cola, it has a value of whatever number of cents, not even $1, right? That can in a pop machine outside of Walmart, I don't know, it's normally going to be bottles, but it's going to be a higher value that people will spend more for it because it's cold, it's instant, you throw the change in or you slide your card and there it is. And then you could go to a sporting event for a professional ball team and that same can of soda, or you can go to a movie theater and normally it'll be cups versus cans. But if you go grab a can of soda there, instead of paying, under $1, you might pay $2.50 for the same can without begrudging paying for it. Okay. So there's different values to different people. The reason I say that is you all have talent, skills, and abilities that are valued by certain people to be less, and that other people would value those talents, skills, and abilities to be worth more, interestingly enough. So don't mess around in your life with people that don't value you, is what I'm trying to share. Okay. You have value in just being who you are, you have value. But when you offer your product or your service, make sure you put yourself in a spirit and in a vibration of, hey, again, this is valuable to you, and I'm going to offer you more in use value than the cash that you give me, but the circumstances can change. But here's what you don't want to do, or you will create the wrong vibration and the wrong, just the wrong vibration around you. If you know your value for something is $1 and you keep putting it out there for 50 cents because you're worried about what people are going to think of you, then what you're telling the God and the universe and everybody else is, I'm not worth it. Don't do that to yourself. You're absolutely worth whatever it is that you want. Okay. You all have unlimited and infinite worth as human beings and as children of God in the universe. Okay, any other questions or comments?
Thank you for elaborating on that more.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
I do have one, and I kind of wanted to inquire about
Okay.
Arlo's situation, which she mentioned. She said she usually get like appreciation for what she's done when she's not expecting it. I do get if you're expecting it, then you're a vibration of expecting, not really that you have it. And I'm wondering what was her vibration when she's not expecting it? Like, why does she get it when she's not expecting it? I'm curious about that.
Maybe she could share that if she'd like to.
Yeah, I really don't know. I think it's just maybe because I'm more like I'm focused on like getting someone to say something or acknowledge it. Whereas like when I'm just like going about my life and I don't expect it, it just like comes to me.
Thank you.
Be concerned about how other people respond to it. Just understand that God in the universe, oops, I think, okay, I think my connection went bad for just a moment. Can you guys hear me right now?
I can now. It did cut out for a second.
Okay.
Yeah, cut out for a bit.
Okay. Essentially what I'm saying is go about your life doing the good that you know how to do, living the best way you know how to live, staying connected with God in the universe as you go about your day, and just trust that they've got your back. Okay. And then if anybody else acts in a positive way, just celebrate that they did. My wife, if she was in the room right now, would be a little bit embarrassed, but I'm going to say this. We went out to eat yesterday with our kids. We went to a restaurant and a lady came up to us as we had finished up eating. I guess she'd been sitting across the way. And surprisingly, it doesn't surprise me too much, okay? But this is actually more about the lady, but I'm going to share. She came up and she said, "Excuse me." And we kind of, yeah, hi. And then she started talking to my wife and she said, I've got to tell you, you are absolutely the most beautiful and gorgeous woman I've ever seen in my entire life.
Oh, wow. That's nice.
And I'm like, well, I know. but my wife, she would have no idea how to take that until she got trained about law of attraction. And she said, "Oh, thank you." I mean, most people, and trust me, that's not how she's felt about herself. And I think even till this day, she doesn't. Okay. But the point of it is there was no seeking of that. And that woman had no agenda about it, right? She just did something that was unbelievably kind to do for a total stranger. She recognized something and she spoke the good that she saw. And it, of course, I know it helped make my wife stay. My son and I were sitting there. My daughter had gone to the bathroom, but the lady, I guess, had gone into the bathroom and saw my daughter. And I guess because she'd seen the table, she knew she was there too. And she just wanted to say, "Oh, you've got beautiful hair, or you've got your mom's hair." And my daughter's thinking, "How do you know who my mom is?" Right. But anyhow, what was really cool about it is this person, I could imagine that would be Arlo walking up to, my wife or somebody like that and just giving a compliment, not looking strictly to do so. But we can look for ways, we can find lots of ways to make people feel good. And I don't know, maybe this lady was doing that. She was looking for a way to make someone feel good. Maybe that was her intention. Maybe she said when she prayed in the morning, "Hey, God, I want to help, lift somebody today. So put someone in my path that I could say something good about." I don't know. Or if it was just naturally her, she's like, "Oh my gosh," she noticed something she thought was cool. But here's what will happen to that lady as a result. I don't know what it is. And it obviously, other than appreciation, I mean, we didn't hand her $100 bill because that would have been awkward, right? But that's something good is probably, if it has not already happened to her yesterday, is probably on its way with an attitude like that.
That was a good story. Good analogy.
Yeah. So just be the awesome people you are when it comes to living your life, and then set the intentions for what you want. Learn how these laws operate, reprogram your subconscious mind, and you will live a pretty absolutely amazing life.
I want to question about the subconscious mind. I know we have more control over our conscious mind than our subconscious mind. How do we influence that? Like, how are we sure that we are influencing? Or do we just pay attention to the conscious mind and hope it seeps into the subconscious mind?
You know what you do? So your subconscious mind, here's how you know what's going on with your subconscious mind. How you feel at the moment. If you're feeling good, then your subconscious mind is in alignment with who you really are and what you really want. If you're not feeling so good, then you know that your subconscious mind is not in alignment. So you want to change that thought, that your subconscious is pumping out something, or you were exposed to, or you were purposely thinking something bad or negative. What's really cool is you can take your feeling, call it your, I like how Esther Hicks refers to it, says your emotional guidance system based upon how you're feeling. If you're feeling down, low, unhappy, whatever, there, fear, discouragement, worry, depression, any of the stuff, any of those things that are ungood feelings, there was a thought that popped up first. It's either a thought that you allowed in, or it's a program at a subconscious level that is now currently in there. If you don't like how you feel, recognize what is the thought that I have right now and reverse that thought. You know, if you're feeling bad because you're stuck in traffic, feel good. And you can make up stories because you are already making up stories anyway. Not every single thing that we've ever thought of that was bad showed up bad for us. There are times has anybody ever worried about something happening that actually did not happen? Yes or no?
It usually happens for
Yes.
most, actually.
It usually will, but have you ever worried about something that didn't happen?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
does that
All the
happen?
time.
Okay, the reason is because you, at least for that particular thing, you didn't focus on it long enough for it to get subconscious to make sure that it happened bad. The stuff that's happening bad is because it's been too long of a focus and your subconscious mind has taken it in. But when it didn't happen, you dodged a bullet, okay, essentially, because it very well, if you'd stayed in that vibration and reprogrammed your subconscious mind, you would have ended up with that bad thing happening. But what you want to do is you want to live in such a way that you recognize when you're not feeling good, figure out what that thing is that you're thinking about, and then ask for the opposite. And if you don't know exactly what the opposite is, make up a story, because again, let's go to the thing that you thought was going to happen that did not happen. You know, it was bad, but it didn't happen. Well, guess what? All you were doing at that point was telling yourself a story, because you didn't know. You didn't know. Okay. You were thinking about it. You gave yourself a story. But if I'm stuck in traffic, I got a couple options. You know, if I'm getting upset about it, I don't get upset about it. And I rarely get stuck in traffic because of my expectations and my vibration. But from those times where I am in the traffic, if I'm starting to feel like a little bit, one, I say a prayer and I actually picture God kind of opening up the way. And usually it does open up in just a little bit. It's almost like I see, I've only seen the movie like once, but it's kind of like when, and I forget which one it is, Evan Almighty or whichever one, where he's in the sports car and he basically splits the road and goes down the middle. I actually put that visualization in myself, and it seems like things open up. But if things aren't opening up, then I actually tell myself, I make up a story, but I make up a good story. You know what? God probably wants me here right now because something is going on in front of me that he wants me to avoid. So I'm just going to thank him for keeping me here. And as soon as he's able to open it up and get me through, I'm happy to do that. But he must be protecting me from something. I'm being protected from an accident, or I'm being protected from seeing something I shouldn't see, or I'm being protected from running into somebody I don't want to see. Or if I were to show up at where I'm trying to get to at the wrong time, there could be somebody there that I don't want to see. So I just, if I'm going to tell myself a story, I'm going to tell myself a good story. Almost everything that we're doing, all it is we're telling ourselves stories. Because until it actually happens, right, it is just a story. If you have the ability to make up a story, then make up one that makes you feel good. Make up one that you can be grateful for. Make up one that puts you in a vibration that is positive and moves you out of the negative vibration. The other thing too is if you're telling yourself, I don't want this, I don't want that, then do what I refer to as the pivot. Man, I don't want to be stuck in traffic because my car overheats and I could get stuck on the side of the road. Instead of thinking that way, since that's not what you want, imagine yourself and decide that you want a car that's reliable, beautiful, and comfortable and gets you where you want to get to. And then manifest the new car, okay? It won't necessarily manifest at that moment on the road, but that's where you want to go with your imagination is let's go manifest the new car, right? Whatever it is that you don't want, when you say, oh, I don't want this to happen, then you do know what the opposite is because there is the opposite. So take the opposite and now you know what you do want. It's crazy how often when I ask people, so what do you want? What do what is it you really want? And then they give me the list of what they don't want. It's like, no, that's not what I asked you for. However, okay, if that's the way you're going to play this game, then take a piece of paper and write down a list, but only do this one time. You don't get to keep doing this over and over, or you're going to create real problems for yourself. You get to do this one time, okay? Make a list of what you don't want. Put it on the left side. Draw a line down the middle. Whatever it is you don't want, put its opposite on the right side because that's what you do want. And then after that, cut it down the middle and burn the left side of the paper and only look at the right side. Only use what you don't want to contrast to show you what you do want, but do not stay focused on what you don't want. There's a danger in doing that, which is you've already been focused on what you don't want. The more and more you say what you don't want, the more likely you're going to get what you don't want. So you're better off focusing on what you do want. But if you are not feeling good, that lets you know you're focused on something you don't want. That means your godly spirit, the one that is connected with God in the universe, is not actually in agreement with your thoughts, because God and the universe are only trying to bring you good into your life. And what you're doing right now is you're rejecting the good that they know you're capable of. And that's why it feels bad, because you know that you're infinite, you know that you're capable, you know that you're powerful, you know that you can manifest what you want. You maybe don't know this all consciously, but at a true inner being level, you know that what I'm telling you is true, that you're living way below what you're capable of living right now, of being, doing, and having what you want in your life. So from a subconscious level, you're going to have to reprogram yourself to accept that as your reality, your unlimitedness, your self-image of how you see and view and feel yourself is going to need to change. And that we'll get more into that as we study into that. The other thing you can go do is you can join the Facebook group and go look for, it's going to have been not last Friday, I don't think, 2 or 3 Fridays ago. I actually deviated from what we were studying at the time and did a whole talk on the subconscious mind. Now we're still going to go in more depth than that, but I took that whole time to talk about the subconscious mind and gave more ideas that I'm giving right here now because I took the time to do it. So I recommend that you go find that one. And again, I did it on a Friday. So look at the Fridays this month, look at the dates. And I think I put somewhere in the description, subconscious mind or something like that.
Thank you, Kevin. That's exactly what I've been struggling with lately. Before, when I was able to manifest things in life, my emotion matched up with my desires or my thoughts. Mm-hmm. And recently, when I have these positive thoughts, I don't feel that it's true. So I haven't been getting what I want recently, but I no one has ever explained it to me in that way. So I definitely appreciate it. I think your volume went out. Or is it mine?
I know the sound just went out for a second again. Sorry about that. What I was saying is I am, coaching is my profession. And specifically, I can help with a lot of other ways, but my particular specialty is money and wealth and helping people get through those blocks fast. So if you could do it on your own, maybe eventually. Rarely is somebody going to figure it out on their own. They'll manifest like you did, good for a while, but then it goes, they'll get stuck somewhere and it'll go away for a while. It'd be really frustrating. And you're trying to get yourself back there and you don't know why you can't. Sometimes you just need somebody's help for a little while. And the reason it didn't stay with you is at a subconscious level, it was not a program yet. You were thinking and feeling positive about things, but it had not become your general nature yet to do so in such a way that it would continue to manifest. It's like, if these conditions are here around me, it will manifest. But as soon as the economy turns and the whole world says the economy is going down the toilet, if you aren't subconsciously programmed to say that's a bunch of baloney, I create my own economy. If you go with the crowd, then you're going to dip down. And most people don't realize how powerful that is. So you were able to put yourself in a state of mind for a while and you were getting the stuff that you wanted. Okay. Get in contact for coaching. Okay. Thanks, Timothy. Let me just give you guys my email address if you want to talk about it. Okay. It's coach, and then it's my name, Kevin Sparks @gmail.com. So it's coach Kevin Sparks @gmail.com. I'm only repeating it because in case the audio went out or something, coach Kevin Sparks @gmail.com. Now I understand it's my profession. It's not something I do for free. It's something I'm extremely good at. And my clients typically multiply their monthly incomes 3 to 10 times within 12 months. And I've done it myself. My own personal journey and growth, I was making $5,000 to $6,000 a month, working 50 to 60 hours a week. And in less than 3 months, actually about 2 months, my income had jumped up to an average of $50,000 a month, only working 15 to 20 hours a week. So that was my first big leap, and it's been pretty great ever since. Okay. So love to hear from you. But then again, just understand, please don't be like, hey, would you be my free coach? You won't get the value out of it necessary. But like I said, everybody that I've worked with pretty much 3 to 10 times, whatever their monthly income was, within 12 months, they're typically seeing that kind of growth in their monthly income. Mine happened super fast. Some of them happen super fast. It's going to depend on how much work we got to do on reprogramming you and how long it takes you to understand the laws. But it also is helpful that I can see we interact with each other every single week. Every single week. You've got things to do 7 days a week. I ask you to dedicate an hour to hour and a half a day to what I'm going to ask you to do. You're going to interact. I'll do it in a group coaching setting. Why? Because 2 reasons. One, it's 98% as effective, I found, as the one-on-one, which is what I only used to do. And also right now, starting June 2nd, so my group coaching, or June 15th, I've been told too many times by Bob Proctor and other people on the team that I'm way undercharging for the results people are getting, and you should get paid for results. So if they're getting those great results, June 15th, everything that I charge is going to double. I've been doing $5,000 group coaching. It's going to go up to 10. I've been doing $20,000 one-on-one coaching. It's going to go up to 40. Okay. It's my colleagues. That's what's happening. Bob Proctor gets paid over $1 million to coach somebody one-on-one. In a group setting, Bob's usually charging anywhere from $30,000 or more. I'm not saying I'm Bob Proctor, but the information is the same. But I am saying if my clients are multiplying their monthly income by 3 to 10 times or better in a period of 12 months, and you don't think $5,000 is worth it, then I shouldn't be your coach. That's really kind of simple. And even if you didn't think $10,000 was worth it, then I shouldn't be your coach. Because if you're making
Sound went out.
okay, the internet cut out again on my side for the sound. I apologize. I'm going to take that as a sign that we'll stop there. Okay. Do you guys have any, as far as talking about coaching goes, anybody have any additional questions or comments before we conclude for today?
No, just thank you for the session today.
Oh, you're extremely welcome. Absolutely 100%.
Thanks, Kevin.
Uh-huh.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And I look forward to seeing everybody tomorrow. Awesome. Awesome.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone.
Thank you.
You're welcome.